Equity, what is it? How can we find deals that give us free equity? And what do we do once we have equity? I'm going to spill the tea on cash offers. What is equity? Well, the simplest way to explain equity is basically how much of a property you own. So say you bought a property for $100,000 and you put 20% down and the bank lent you 80%. So in that situation, you have $20,000 of equity or 20% equity. The most normal and slow way to gain equity is basically just paying down the loan. So say you pay another $20,000. Well, now you own another 20% of the property. So you have 40% equity, $40,000 of equity. What you want to do is to create equity. Well, how do you create equity? You create equity by usually solving a problem and then increasing the value. In our previous example, say you have a house that you bought for $100,000, 20% down. Well, now say this house needed some work. You put $50,000, fixed up the kitchen, looks brand new, fixed up the bathroom, increased the desirability of that property. Now that property is worth $200,000. Now you just created an extra $50,000 of equity by making the property more desirable. Who in their right mind would sell a property for $100,000 that's worth $200,000 after just $50,000 worth of repairs? Well, let me give you some examples. This usually happens when there's some sort of problem that the homeowner can't resolve or doesn't want to resolve. So you come in, fix that problem, and gain that equity. One common scenario is, let's say the homeowner is a hoarder. They just lived in the house for 20 years. They didn't want to throw anything out. They have really outdated furniture. There's just boxes everywhere, bags of used clothes that they never wear anymore. Just stuff like that scattered all over the place. The kitchen is outdated. They've never done any renovation at all. The house can be still fully functional, but because it's outdated, there's garbage everywhere. When that homeowner throws it up on the market and tries to sell it, potential buyers come in, take a look at it, and they're like, oh, I don't want to move into something like this. This place looks so dark. It looks so small. The kitchen's outdated. The bathroom has pink tiles. Oh, man, let's just move on to the next one. Now the homeowner is just there frustrated. He doesn't have the money to update this property. So he just ends up not being able to sell it. And the price just goes down and down and down. Well, here's where you can step in, buy it, front the money to make the repairs, and then gain that equity. Another common scenario is, let's say the owner wants to sell it fast. Now, picture this. A couple was living there for 5 years, and all of a sudden they see that their marriage is falling apart. They just can't stand each other, just fighting every single day. They file for a divorce, and now they don't want to see each other anymore. They want to get rid of this as soon as possible. They need to sell it fast, and the only way that they can sell it fast is if they sell it cheap. Some people might not want to see each other giving showings and all that stuff. Now, if a potential buyer comes into a house like this and they see that the people are fighting and stuff, then they know that they're getting a divorce or they've already gotten a divorce. And in a situation like that, the potential buyers will lowball them. This causes them to have to pretend to like each other, pretend everything is okay when they give the showings. Now, since this couple is already butting heads every day, they don't want to do that. They just want to throw it away. They just want to get rid of it as soon as possible. That's where you can come in and say the house is worth $200,000 and they listed it at $150,000. Well, you just got free equity right there just because they wanted to sell it fast. Another common but sort of risky way that you can gain equity is, say the property has non-cooperating tenants. So the tenants aren't paying rent anymore and they are not letting people come in to look at the house. The owner is falling behind on his monthly payment and he's in trouble. the bank is threatening to foreclose on his property. He can't make payments, so he needs to sell this. No regular person is going to buy a house that has a tenant that needs to be evicted. Some investors are okay with that risk, but because there's that risk, they need to have some upside once they buy it. So they're going to come in, buy this property at a low price, get rid of the tenants, and then reap the rewards of that upside, gaining equity. If you're in a highly competitive market, you're going to open houses, you're looking at places, trying to give an offer to the agent, and the agent tells you, right now I already have an offer. It's a good offer and it's a cash buyer. So when the homeowner looks at this offer, they're like, oh, nice, cash offer. I don't have to worry about mortgage contingencies. I'm going to save a bunch of time and I don't have to worry about the deal falling apart. Now you, as another potential buyer, are just sitting there like, oh my God, like who keeps this much cash on them? Like, what are they just leaving it in their bank account? Why would anyone do that?
Please, no! 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 No!
Well, here's the truth about cash buyers. Being a cash buyer doesn't always mean that you just have money ready sitting in the bank. You do have money ready, but you don't necessarily have to have it sitting in the bank. So here's what a cash offer means. A cash offer just means you have enough cash somewhere to pay for this property without getting a mortgage on it. Now, that cash doesn't have to be sitting in your bank account. That cash can be a loan on a different property, or it can be a private lender, hard money lender, something like that. Cash offer just means that they don't need a mortgage on this particular property. So how is that relevant for you? Well, when you have property and you have high equity in that property, you can do a cash out refinance. So let's go back to our first example. You bought the property for $100,000, put $20,000 down, you put $50,000 into it, and now the property is worth $200,000. So you still owe the bank $80,000, but now you have 60% equity. Most banks will let you either take out a home equity loan, get a mortgage, or get a line of credit on that house. So now you can bring your equity position back down to 20 and take out 40% of the money. So that property, you only need to have 20% parked in there. So for a $200,000 property, you just need $40,000 parked into there. So the bank will give you a loan for $160,000. Now you originally owed $80,000, so you have to use part of that $160,000 to pay back the $80,000 you owed before. But the good thing is you get to keep the $80,000 and now you can spend that somewhere. So when somebody is giving a cash offer, they likely either have a private lender or they did something like that and pulled out equity from some of their other properties. So now you have $80,000 that you've taken out. And in that area, you can find another house for $100,000. Well, now you have $80,000. You just need to put in another $20,000 and you can give a cash offer. So that's the goal. You can create value in a property, take out the equity with a refinance, and then use that equity to reinvest somewhere else. And that's how you get the ball rolling. Like, it's hard to get your first property, but once you get your first property, the second, third, fourth, it just gets significantly easier as you go because you're building up equity and now you have more access to capital. That's why creating equity is so important and it's the key to becoming a good investor. If you've learned anything, please like. If you have any questions, please comment. And if you want to see more, subscribe.